Good morning, everybody. Thursday morning, 10 a.m. Here we are once again. Keith Pitch, Loan Depot. You are here on Real Estate Now. I'm with my co-host, Stacy Chevalier. Stacy.
Hi, Stacy here, Loan Depot for Washington State. Excited to be here. Excited not to be in the car this week.
Yay! The car was quite the trip last week, so that was a good technical foyer into the world of mobile streaming. So that was fun.
Yes.
So what location are you at today? It's fine.
Secret location.
Secret location. Gotcha.
I'm in front of a brick wall.
A brick wall. Nice.
Next week will be different.
Big plans for the 4th of July weekend coming up?
Nope. Just gonna stay with my little family, quarantined. What about you?
Just hanging with family and myself and enjoying the 4th of July as much as possible and going from there. I'm excited that the weather's going to turn, so here we go. But right on. Well, hey, let's jump right into it. As we do every week, we wanted to talk about last week's show and our viewership. So, Stacy, we had 232 views.
Nice. Thank you, everybody, for all your support, and we will be donating that amount of dollars to our local food banks, which need a lot of support right now during this time of our economy. So we appreciate it.
We're gonna go back and get that running tally. We got to figure out what we've donated thus far because it's going to be a pretty powerful number, and I'm super excited for it. So also everything that we do every week is, or another thing that we do every week is we check in on what the rate environment looks like. And I want to make this full screen. Here we go. Mortgage rates hit an all-time record low heading into the 4th of July weekend. Happy 244th birthday, America. United States is just dipping those rates way down there. The 30-year fixed, it's almost touching the 2%. I'm astounded by this because in 20 years of doing mortgages, I've never seen anything like this. What a great opportunity for those of you out there listening that are looking to jump into the market or looking to better yourself through a refinance. Now is the time, folks. Who knows what's going to happen? It's an election year. There's a lot of different things going on the economic front, which will bring us to our guest here about two things. Number one, VA loans, and number two, what the market's going to look like. So a little celebration really quick for all of this great rate environment. I just want to play a little bit of fireworks for us here because those rates are amazing, right? So
this is like what we're all going to be watching this weekend because at least where I'm at, there is no fireworks.
No fireworks. Yeah, that's a common thing there. So YouTube is a great place to check out all the fireworks for those of you that will be missing your local fireworks shows. But I wanted to, without further ado, all fireworks aside, get into some business about the VA loans. I think it's appropriate here going into the 4th of July weekend to bring in Steve Coupe. Steve Coupe is joining us from Silverdale.
Hi, Keith. How are you doing?
Doing great. You're right up the street from Naval Base Kitsap, yeah?
I'm right between three bases. The torpedo base at Keyport, the sub base at Bangor is just to the north of me, and to the south we have PSNS, the largest mothball fleet in the nation, is parked there, plus the 7th Fleet.
Wow. So yeah, you're right in the middle of the VA hotbed, if you will, to help all these fine servicemen and women with their home loan needs, right? You're not just a mortgage professional, though. You've also served in our military, in the Navy, is that correct?
That's right. I was on the Henry M. Jackson for 6 years, between 82 and 88. I'm not sure Stacy was born yet, but
knock it off.
Yeah, so I was born. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Steve, you also have at least one of your kids serving now, right?
My fourth son just got out of the 82nd Airborne, and my fifth is in the Air Force. Just got back from Nigeria, guarding a drone base. Yep. That
is awesome. Well, thank you and your family for all your service. So kick us off. Tell us about the VA loan and what makes it so special.
Well, the VA loan offers a zero down option for veterans and obviously military members, you can go in at great rates, and other than paying a funding fee up front, there's no mortgage insurance. So you're getting the government-backed loan, which obviously gives you a really great rate, and you're going in zero down, and you can tack the funding fee onto the loan. So it's a true zero down.
Gotcha. That is awesome. So when you do like 3% down or any of that other stuff, that mortgage insurance can be pretty sizable, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And the other thing about, veterans can go down to, 620 on their FICO score and still get the great rates.
That's a powerful program.
And our FICO score changes at different companies, right? So that's not a standard.
Correct.
Yeah. It's definitely changed during COVID.
Right. Sometimes the rates go up and down depending on what the level of risk is at the time.
What makes an enlisted member qualified for the VA loan?
All they have to do is have 90 days of active duty, and they qualify. That's it. And we were talking before, a lot of people don't even realize, a lot of the veterans or a lot of the active military, don't even realize that they qualify. In your first 2 years in the military, you're running around from base to base to base as you get training. And, nobody really takes you aside because you're not really part of you're only part of a training command. So all you're hanging around with is a bunch of students. So nobody takes you aside and tells you about the VA benefits at that point. It's normally when you get to your first duty station that you really you get to know the ropes, so to speak. Gotcha.
Well, you get time to breathe, right? I'm pretty sure they have you running around pretty hardcore in that first 2 years.
Oh yeah. It was Great Lakes to San Diego to Groton to Washington State, back to Groton, back to Anaheim, back to Washington, back to Groton. Then we shot missiles down in Florida, and that was all in the first 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. You literally carried a sea bag and just picked all your stuff up and went. I mean, it was that funny.
Off you go.
Yep.
Right on.
We were talking before the show that on where we operate over on I don't know if we want to call it the west side, but people kind of forget about their benefits. So I think it's up to us in the industry to always ask people and explain the benefits. So for people who have been maybe out of the service for some time, might not think that it's still a good loan for them, and it could be the best product for them.
And a lot of times, even with the funding fee, the lower rate gives you it's a better overall loan for your family.
Well, and I think Stacy hit the nail on the head here. I think a lot of retired military servicemen and women forget that they still have that eligibility. How do they find out if they're eligible, Steve?
All they have to do is come in and we run what they call a COE, or we find out their eligibility. We go right on with the veterans website, the VA website, and we just plug in their social security number and the year they were born, and it generally tells you. The only time that the VA website isn't automated is if there's some discrepancy in your file, or potentially if you're an older military veteran, sometimes the records have to be dug up manually. But usually we get it back within 2 to 3 days.
Are you saying before the internet, Steve? Is that what you're saying?
I was around before the internet, that's for sure.
I think another misconception people have is you can only have one VA loan, and they're not understanding how you could have multiple VA loans.
Right. There's a way to get a split eligibility and use half of your benefit on one home and half of your benefit on another, and we do that all the time. Well, I shouldn't say all the time. I would say at least once or twice a year we have to go through the process.
So you can do more than one. Is there stipulations behind having more than one VA loan? Because there are some in like FHA world, the Federal Housing Administration.
The only stipulation is you can't exceed the amount of the insurance coverage that the VA provides.
Okay.
So
And I'm sure you have your calculators to figure all that out for
Correct.
all the time.
Correct. Yep.
Right. Awesome.
Now, what happens if someone wants to use the VA loan over the VA loan limit?
Well, then it's a 1 to 4, $1 for every $4 of loan. You have to put in $1. So you fund 25% of any overage over the VA limit in your area.
So what's the VA limit in your area, Steve?
Right now it's 510 400.
Okay. So if someone wanted to go to 610 400,
They'd have to
would
put
down.
25,000 down, and they would still get 75,000 in loan amount. So 25,000 down on a 400. That's what about 6% down. Still a great.
But up to the 510, you're good to go. You don't have to put
It's 0 down.
Awesome.
The other cool kicker that a lot of people forget is you're allowed to pay off debt with a seller concession. So we do that all the time too to get people to qualify for more. They have a $10,000 Visa card. You can get up to 6% seller concessions on a VA loan. So if you structure your deal right, you can wipe out some debt and some payment to qualify.
What's a typical concession on, say, like a conventional loan?
You can only go to 3%.
Wow, so you're doubling up the concessions on a VA loan. That's powerful.
Sorry. VA's 4% concession.
4%. Gotcha.
USDA and FHA are 6%. Sorry.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks for the clarification.
4% on 400,000. I mean, you got a lot of money to work with.
$16,000. Yeah. So tell
How
us.
do you sorry, go ahead.
Stacey.
I was just going to say, how do you talk about the housing allowance and how that might relate to purchasing a home rather than using the housing allowance on base?
Well, a lot of the active military already know their housing allowance because in a lot of areas there's just not a lot of housing on base. Typically, the housing on base is used for the people just getting in the military or at a school command, or they are just getting into the area for the first time and they don't really know if they want to live there or not. So they're always getting told what their allowance is going to be. You can look up any military housing allowance, you can look up any military pay, and you can look up all military salaries. All you have to do is go on the websites and they can give you all the information. So if we have somebody that isn't used to housing allowance, then obviously we educate them and show them where that information is.
Can that housing allowance be used to qualify for the mortgage?
Yes. Yep. 100%.
So on top of their pay, they get the housing allowance.
Correct. Correct.
Wow, that's powerful stuff.
And you can gross up some of their pay as well.
Yes, we can. Their typical housing allowance around here is going to be, depending on the rank, you're going to be right around $1,600 to $2,400 a month.
Wow, that goes a long way in the terms of a mortgage.
Sure does. Well, it's a lot of times it's how people determine whether they can afford it. They're renting it. There's 3-bedroom apartments on Ridgetop right now, which Ridgetop is the middle of Silverdale, so to speak. You can see the water from Ridgetop. They're going for $2,000 a month. So, a lot of times if you're getting $1,600 and you're throwing it at a rental, $1,600, you're looking at probably a $300,000, $280,000 to $300,000 house.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Long-term investment there.
Right.
So we talked a lot about the purchase side of the VA loan. It's not just for purchase mortgages. Is that correct? Correct.
We use it all the time for refinances. The cash out refinance on a VA, it goes up way over the limits of conventional. So you're cashing out 90 to 100%, depending on depending on the COVID. But yeah, 100% cash out refinance. A lot of times, it can be the difference between drowning in debt and actually having a decent ability to start accumulating wealth.
Yep. A huge game changer right there. So you brought it up. You brought up COVID. So tell us, how has COVID changed the landscape of VA loans at this particular time in history?
Well, it changes by the minute. Trying to get an appraiser into a house is a challenge sometimes. We're doing a lot of desktop appraisals, but VA requires appraisal, so they're a little more strict as far as that goes. As far as the COVID environment, what I see happening is I see a lot of people running from the major metropolitan areas to the more suburbia setting, because they're finding out that they can work there, and it's just going to be a boom for builders. It's going to be a boom for lenders in the suburbs.
Well, that is a great pivot to talk about the market. So not only are you a mortgage extraordinaire with a huge focus on VA lending, you're also a financial planner. Is that correct?
Yes, I've been a financial advisor now I've been licensed since 1990.
How many screens do you have in your office, Steve?
You're seeing most of them. I have right now I have 6.
Gotcha.
And
that's a lot of screens.
This one up here can turn into a monitor too.
So we're really fortunate to have Steve Coupe on our team, and he'll often give us a daily update on the market. So what say you today, Steve? What's going to happen?
Well, the market is crazy. We were talking before. 5 out of 6 people on unemployment are making more money on unemployment than they are working. So there's a lot of liquidity, a lot of money sloshing around, a lot of money chasing very few stocks. So we're seeing stock prices elevate. We're right now, the S&P is priced at 19 times forward earnings, which is theoretically a very high level. So there's a lot of concern, and you should be investing cautiously right now in the stock market, especially chasing Tesla at $1,200 a share and Shopify at $1,000 a share, and now Amazon just went up to $1,900, or $2,900, so it's up $900 a share this year. It's just showing you that there's a lot of liquidity. This brokerage called Robinhood came out, and you can actually buy stock by splitting shares. You don't have to buy a whole share of stock. So a lot of kids are bored. They're not watching sports. They're not gambling. So they're opening up these small accounts and buying stock. And we're seeing a lot of speculation, a lot of movement on stocks that probably shouldn't move, and we'll see what happens. But it usually sets up for a bad ending.
What do you think about interest rates? You want to share that on our live?
Interest rates, as long as the Fed's in there pumping $4 to $5 billion every month at these mortgage backs, the Treasury is issuing the debt, but the Fed's buying it. So as soon as anything comes out, there's a lot of competition for our securities around the world, not just in the United States. So everybody's trying to get in line to buy, and it's just keeping the long rates down. And I think, especially if the market bubbles, or if the COVID has this acceleration, which it appears to be around the country, I think mortgage rates I think we could hit 2.75 on conventional on a 30, and I think it could happen pretty quick.
Wow. That would be amazing. So there's a lot of talk. Oh, go for it.
The only thing that would change that, obviously, is every time we get a vaccine or a solution, all bets are off, and all of a sudden you see the treasuries bubble the other way. So it's kind of like we're let's see, where's our camera? We're pressing down on them on the long rates, right? But as soon as any good news comes out, the yields come right back up. But right now, as long as COVID keeps accelerating, we don't have a solution, and we see some of the international pockets of things going on, like Hong Kong, the Indian border with China, and Russia being aggressive. Who knows what could happen? It could really smash down rates quick.
So the next thing that I've been watching is the jobless claims, that they're coming back down, and unemployment. What does that have to do with anything right now? Because we still got a lot of folks that are on the CARES Act unemployment benefit. So what happens when that comes to close?
Well, anytime there's a big earthquake in the market, it causes what we call distortion. So a lot of your numbers that you're seeing don't have the same meaning as they used to, because the swath of inaccuracy is like, let's say like this, versus where it normally would be like this, very predictable. But you get distortion in, all of a sudden all these numbers separate, and it's very, very hard to make a really good guess or a qualifying statement. But what I heard today when I listening to the jobs report when it came out, I do agree that it's nice to see that initial bounce back, but it's going to be harder to close the gap, between where we were and now, because we just know that a lot of businesses had to fold up or couldn't make it, or JCPenney's in bankruptcy. That's a lot of people that are going to be displaced, and they're going to be displaced for a while.
So does that mean that the Treasury's still going to issue the debt and the Fed's going to continue to buy it until we stabilize out? Is that the long-term view?
For sure. If you look at the $8 trillion that we threw at the economy, you figure if we lose 1/2 of month's GDP, 1 month's GDP, so you're talking about $1.5 trillion per month that we're in this degraded mode. The $8 trillion is more than enough to offset the $3 trillion or the $4.5 trillion that we've lost. Although it's funny money, meaning it was just generated by the Treasury. The response is enough to keep the markets floating, but the unemployment runs out in July. The PPP just got extended 5 weeks, but and in September the airlines run out of business or run out of money. So you got to figure between now and when we can get a vaccine, maybe at the end of the year, there's got to be another gap of stimulus between let's call it August and December. And if they don't come up with something, again, I think the Fed will be in there buying. They'll still keep their open market operations going, but we need something from the House and the Senate right now.
Gotcha. So how is the presidential election, which has been for an election year, it's been very muted with COVID-19 coming to the forefront. We can all have different opinions on that, but how does a presidential election year also factor into the mortgage world?
Well, as you know, the country's never been, this divided. It just feels really, really like you have a left and a right hand and you don't have anything in the middle going on. So, the Republican side of the House would want you to believe that a Democrat gets elected, the taxes go up, and the economy gets tanked. The left side of the House wants to tell you that they didn't handle this situation very well. They're incompetent, and they've been incompetent on many fronts during Trump's presidency. It's going to be a little. Markets do not like. They like to be able to forecast.
Like, they don't like uncertainty.
Yeah. So I would see a very muted market going into the election, just because it's too close right now, too close to call.
Yeah.
And you don't place your bets if you don't know what you're betting on.
Nope. Not at all. So,
do you have any stats, Steve, before we finish up, on where forbearance numbers are at? Do you track those?
Right around 8% of the mortgages in the United States are in forbearance. So at the 8% level, and figure, I think that again, another number that's going to be distorted. Where I don't know if that's how accurate that's being reported. I know you guys watch the Black Knight and some of the other the news feeds, mortgage news feeds, but it's a worrisome number. And I'll just give you a quick little tidbit. I have a doctor in town that is a multi-millionaire, and he took the forbearance. So what's that mean? Do they really think it's free money? I don't know. Yeah. So, yep.
Yeah, there's been a ton of misinformation and misconception on what that is. So I think the more we can go out there and educate folks about what forbearance is and how it impacts them long term is really another thing of our duty, not just helping people refinance and buy new houses. It's also understanding what they've got right now.
So, yeah, and Steve and I did a whole show on it, and it was based on where people can go to find the most up-to-date information rather than sharing what was happening that day, because as we know, the rules and guidelines have changed like 8 times since it's come out. So if people are curious about forbearance, you can go ahead and go back and find that show, and it'll link you to accurate information so you know what's going on.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. Well, we're quickly getting up to our half an hour, Steve. Any other financial tidbits or VA loan tidbits that we need to understand and digest right now?
Well, if you're in the market for a house right now and you're trying to figure out what to do, I'm with you guys. I would buy right now, because if mortgage rates go back up to even last year's level, $400,000 house, you're going to carry $6,000 extra in interest, and that's over 30 years. So are you really paying up for a house? I mean, $6,000 a year for 30 years, So if you're paying $20,000 or $25,000 over what you think the price is, you're getting the benefit on the interest rate side. So if you need a house, buy it. I strongly urge that. I don't see this market going down. A lot of people are just, I think, scaring the consumer. If anything else, I see maybe a plateau in house prices, but not any big downdraft, not any 10 or 20% downdraft. There's just so much demand right now. There's no way that's going to happen.
That is true, because I mean, you and I have both seen it. We have purchase applications up and through the roof, pacing higher than last year, and There's just no inventory. We talked about that last week with Matthew Gardner, that there's been a misconception between number of units sold and effective price, that there's fewer units being sold, but the prices are still holding and going up. So it's a great time to buy. I totally echo that sentiment. So, just to extrapolate that number, Steve, $6,000 a year over 30 years, that's $180,000. So maybe paying up on that $20,000, like you said, is actually a deal long term.
Well, if I'm a realtor and somebody's sitting there going, I'm going to wait for houses to get down $10,000, I'd be, why?
Yeah. And it's always a good investment to purchase near a military base. That's a stable economy, good rental if you do need to go somewhere else. I started out in DuPont, Washington, in the mortgage industry, so I worked right outside the back gate of, at the time it was Fort Lewis. But anyway, so yeah, it's still a great market down in DuPont, Washington.
Right on. Well, thanks for joining us, Steve. I appreciate it. greatly.
No
4th of July plans. What are you doing?
We're going to Leavenworth, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm happy
Exciting.
to hear your son is home. I didn't know he came home, so you can give him a big hug. That's awesome.
Well, home for him is Mississippi, but coming home
What?
from Africa is,
Yeah,
he appreciates junk food again, you know?
yeah.
Right on. Well, appreciate it, Steve. Take care and have a great 4th of July.
All right, Keith. See you guys.
Bye, Steve.
Right on. Well, Stacy, I think it's very appropriate this week as we exit, we bring the fireworks back and we just let this run on the way out. So happy 4th of July. Enjoy.
Happy 4th.